So, you want to start a war of your own, do ya? Well, listen up, runts. Start collecting orcs!
Anvil of War! Start collecting!
Hey guys, so before we get into this video, I would like to extend a huge thank you to all of our subscribers, and if you're new to the channel and you like this video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe down below. And also another huge thank you to our sponsors over at Red Dragon in Orleans, Ontario. You can go check out their website, links down below, and support us by supporting them. Thanks, guys. So today we're talking about how to collect orcs, or my opinions on how to collect orcs. Now, I've been collecting orcs for over 10 years now. They're by far my favorite army in the game. So I'm here to share my font of knowledge with you guys. If you take anything away, that's a bonus in my books. So the thing with orcs is they can be pretty intimidating to new players because there's a lot of them. It's a horde army, right? A lot of people don't necessarily like horde armies, especially if they're new to the game, but I feel like orcs are probably one of the most forgiving horde armies there are, only because when it comes down to the kits themselves, they're relatively inexpensive. Now, I say relatively in comparison to other GW kits because they're a much older kit. We've been on these current orc sculpts since 4th edition, I believe, but they still stand up to the test of time. They still look like orcs. They're classic GW model. And the benefit of having such old sculpts, in my opinion, is they're very customizable. You used to see it a lot with the old Marines and stuff like that, where the torsos would fit other Marines, the heads and arms would fit other Marines. So it's like, if you have an excess of bits and you want to customize your guys to look pretty cool, like your weapon specialist to look special, maybe throw a Luda head on him, right? That way you know he's a weapon specialist. Or maybe your knob is... and you can kit bash to your heart's content, and it's not even heavy conversions. It's literally just take this arm, glue it onto this torso. Cool, you have a completely different model than the ones that are advertised on the box art, which is awesome. You get to put your own personal spin on your orcs. Now, when it comes to the vehicles, the vehicle kits, orcs make everything out of garbage. They find things, they bash it together, and because they believe that it will work, it will work. So there are no mistakes when you're building an orc vehicle. We only have happy little accidents, to quote Bob Ross. So if you glue something the wrong way, there's a good chance you can save it. Like, it's not the end of the world. And you don't necessarily even have to buy the stock GW orc kits. I'm a firm believer of no orc vehicle should look alike, because they're all made by a different mech who's bashed them together out of different bits of garbage. So they all look different, right? Scour used bins, guys. Like, go on to trade servers, try to find your a $15 Lehman Russ for sale, rip the turret off that, stick a Predator turret on top of it, and use some extra orc bits to make it look orky. It's it's an army for kit bashers. You might not even be really good at cutting, converting, stuff like that, but if you can just slap something onto something else, orcs are an army for you. Now, I did touch on the fact that our line is pretty dated. There are amazing sculpts coming out from GW right now. Their kits are incredibly detailed. They're beautiful. I would love to see more detailed orc kits. I would love to see a new boys kit. But in the same vein, I don't want to redo 120 boys. And I know myself. The guys here at the studio know me. I will go out and buy 120 brand new boys just to have that updated kit, making my army look as awesome as possible on the tabletop, right? So it's almost a double-edged sword, but everyone does like new models, right? So, moving on from that, we have the where to start your orcs. Now, it is, like I said, it's a horde army. GW has their start collecting kits from the older editions, and then they also are now, with 9th edition, as Codex has come out, they're coming out with the combat patrol boxes. Now, Orks right now, at the time of this video, haven't got their 9th edition release yet, so we're still working with the old Start Collecting box. It's not bad by any means. If you're looking to pick up an Ork army, I would definitely recommend start with the Codex and start with the Start Collecting box. Or I don't know what will be in the Combat Patrol box, but if you're watching this afterwards, you should probably start with the Combat Patrol box as well. It gives you a good base. Now, in regards to the Start Collecting box, you get 10 boys, 5 knobs, a Pain Boy, and a Death Dread. Now, that's not really a proper detachment because Pain Boy's a Leech choice. There are ways to expand that into a proper, like, a battle-forged patrol detachment, and it's just as simple as, honestly, when you get your Combat Patrol box, or your Start Collecting box, sorry, and then and this goes back to the kit bashing, buy yourself a box of Astra Militarum Ogrins or Bulgrins, because they're on a 40 mil base, which is what your War Boss and your Big Mechs come on. They're bigger than your knobs, which Big Mechs and War Bosses should be, but they aren't if you actually go and buy the other kits. And then kit bash your knobs with your Bulgrins, and they do fit quite well. Actually, I have my Big Mech with custom force field. He was made out of the Bulgrin kit with some bits from the knobs and a bit from the Mega knobs because I wanted him in Mega armor. But you can do it with just a regular Big Mech, right? So that'll give you 2 HQ slots, and then now you actually can make a proper patrol detachment. And to bring that up to the 25 power level that they recommend for a combat patrol, or like the almost 500 points, I guess, throw in another 10 boys. Buy another 10-man boy squad. That gives you 20 boys, which can either be one 10 or one 20-man mob, or 2 10-man troop squads to capture objectives in a smaller game. It gives you your Pain Boy. It gives you your Death Dread that you can outfit however you want. Shooty, choppy, choice is yours. And then you have your 2 HQ slots and your Pain Boy. I might have already touched on the Pain Boy. I didn't even include the knobs in that because we've already used some of the bits left over to make our HQ choices. And you can actually use any of the extra knobs to make proper size knobs for your boy squads, because the knob in the boys kit is the same size as a boy, and that's a travesty. He can't boss them all around if he's the same size as them. That's how Humies work. That's not how Orks work. So bigger is better. So that gives you a nice 500 point army. Is it the most competitive? No. Is 500 points a competitive level to be playing at? No. Will you get creamed if you go up against your Space Marine buddy? Probably. But it'll give you a good idea of how the army works with Orks. You can make your boys Shuda or Slugga boys. You can outfit your Death Dread however you want. The Big Mech can fix him. The War Boss can lead the charge. The Pain Boy can stitch people back up. It's a good way of seeing how Orks work on the table, and you can grow it from there. Now, when it gets into actually expanding even more into a bigger army, I'm a strong proponent of get a little bit of everything. Every person on the internet will tell you the most competitive way to play an army. That's not necessarily the best thing to do if you want to collect an army and you're just starting out. If you've been playing 40k for years and you want to start Orks because they're the new hot thing and you want to take them to the tournaments, sure, by all means. But if you're here to play Orks for the long run, through thick and thin, because you're a proper fan, I strongly recommend doing a little bit of everything, because that way you won't necessarily get burned if an edition changes or an FAQ drops and it ruins the meta or it changes the meta. Like mech guns. Mech guns are a perfect example. They used to be everywhere. People would bring 18 mech guns in a list. Mech guns are expensive kit. Sure, you can kit bash them, which is what a lot of people do. So you can try to maximize your bang for your buck, but they're still an expensive kit for a single mech gun. So people go out and buy 18 of these things, or even 12 of them, and slap them in their lists because they were so cheap. They were 20, 25 points-ish a model. But now at the FAQ, they've gone up. They've almost doubled in points for the basic mech gun that a lot of people were bringing just for the redundancy. So now it's like you can only bring half of them. So now they're sure you can bring your 18 mech guns, but now you're looking at almost 900 points of your army. That's 1,000. That's half your competitive 2K force tied up in mech guns. So anyway, I digress because I'm getting on a bit of a tangent here, but branch out, get a little bit of everything, see what you like as a player. If you want that Mad Max style orc army that's all buggies, you can do that. You want a horde, you want the Green Tide, 100 boys, all the Gretchen slaves, you can do that. You want a little bit of both, you can do it. You want DACA, you can do it. You want melee, you can do it. Orcs are that army, you can do it. I love it. Even in like different vehicle, instead of the Mad Max like buggies everywhere, you can do walkers everywhere, Canwall, Death Dread, Stompas, Morkanaut, Gorkanaut. All of it's there for you, right? So branch out however you want, whatever you think you like, get a hold of it. Or initially, get a branch off, get a bit of everything, see what you like the most, and then focus on that, right? And then, because if you love the army, and you love the way it plays, it will go through the editions with you. Sure, you might not be top tier, god level orcs, but you're having fun. And that's way more important, in our opinion, here at Anvil of War anyways. So, after that, that's the army building side of things. We've covered the kit bashing, the modeling side of things, what to expect with your hobby. Painting. Now, you're looking at a lot of green. I know some people, they paint their orcs. Some people paint their orcs red. Some people paint their orcs purple, because purple's the most stealthy color. Why is purple the most stealthy color? Have you ever seen a purple orc? No. No one has, because they're so stealthy. So yeah, but regardless, whatever you choose for your base skin tone, you're going to be painting a lot of it. So get comfortable with it. If you have an airbrush, that helps a ton, honestly. Other than the clothes or the cloth, the clothing, it's all dull drab colors, so it's easy to get bogged down and bored with your painting. I've hit painter's block a few times, trying to chug through 30 boys. I'm like, okay, I'm painting this dull green skin, I'm painting this dull gray and black and brown cloth. It's like, oh god. But then I get to the yellow armor, and it's this bright yellow armor that you see on some of my stuff, and it's like, oh, now we're back into it, right? And and that's the thing, is the armor. And I guess this ties into your clan choice. If you start collecting orcs and you're looking at clans, there's 2 ways to go about this. Well, technically there's 3, but there's 2 ways that I recommend. One is, pick your favorite clan. Read about them in the Codex. You got the Bad Moons, you got the Goths, you got the Death Skulls, Snake Bites, Blood Axes, Evil Sons, Freebooters. Pick your favorite one. Paint them that way. If you play them that way, you love the lore, you love how they play, you love their special. That's awesome. Good job. Next way I recommend: make your own custom scheme. Pick a armor color that you like the look of. Pick some clothes color that you like the look of. See how they mesh together. Now you got your own scheme. That way it'll survive with you through the edition changes. No matter which clan is on top, your army can play as any of them. What I find a lot of people doing is they'll paint the most competitive clan. They'll paint them all yellow, because Bad Moons was the top of 8th for the longest time because of Luda bombs. But now, a lot of people would argue that Death Skulls and Goths are the way to go. Evil Sons has always been on top, but it might not be for long, right? We'll see what the book brings. So maybe you painted all your guys red, and you go to an event that forces you to play in its rule set as what you're painted as, unless you bring a custom scheme. Well, now you're stuck playing Evil Sons. Maybe you don't want to, because you don't love the lore of Evil Sons. You just brought them because they were the best at the time. So, yeah, either pick what you love or make your own. And if you make your own, you'll fall in love with it, right? One other thing I have to recommend for painting is orcs are in and out a horde army. Even if you bring vehicle spam, we bring a lot of vehicles. There's a lot of those. So you're going to be painting a lot of models. Don't fall into the trap as a new player, a new hobbyist, of looking at the beautiful models on the GW website and trying to paint to the heavy metal standard right away. You will get there. You might be that good of a painter. But if you aren't and you try to go for that, you'll find yourself getting extremely discouraged very quickly. I found that myself when I was starting out in the hobby. So don't reference that. Just start from scratch. Start from the basics. Build up with the basics, and you'll get there, right? And they might not all be all competition ready individually, but when you get a squad of 30 of them, they'll really start to blend together, and that's an orc mob, right? They're all supposed to be dirty and everything anyways. It's It's a very forgiving army to paint. It's a very forgiving army to model. We've covered the painting. We've covered the collecting. We've covered the hobbying. One last thing I want to touch on. This, by all means, isn't the focus of this video, but I want to touch on the rough competitive standing with Orks, even the rough play styles of Orks, right? Like, I know I mentioned that you can pretty much do it all. One thing Orks really do really well is board control. They're a lot tougher than they look because they only have that t-shirt save, 6 up, whatever. They're only T4. But if you put 30 of them on an objective, their troops, their obsec, you give them the invuln from your force fields, the board, that point's yours for a turn or two, right? Unless like some powerhouse unit goes into it, but then they're putting a powerhouse unit into it. Anyway, Orks are surprisingly good at board control. They flood the board, they cap the points, and that's what you need to do, because if you just run at people and don't cap points, it might be tempting, and you might be able to do it in a beer and pretzels game. But if you're not capping points and then you're losing all your models to shooting, the game's it's gonna get further and further out of your hands. Orks are very melee focused. You look at their stat line. They're hitting on 3s, 2s in melee. They like to punch things. They like to hit them harder, crump them, get those gits, however you want to say it. Orks love a fight. They love melee. So even their vehicles love melee. So that's definitely a viable way to go. Melee is pretty hot this edition, especially melee that can move quickly because the board size has shrank a little bit, and you need to be fighting on the points. So with the jump, things like that, Evil Sun, Speed Freaks, melee is very viable. Just watch it for screens, I guess. And then for shooting, Orks, their shooting looks like garbage, but it's very jank. There have been games where it's like you'll miss with everything or you'll hit with everything, and that's just the way it is. So if you like those odds, or if you like to roll the dice, literally roll the dice on this, shooting Orks are viable as well. And that pretty much sums it up, really, guys. If you want more, if you liked what I was kind of saying about the tactics videos and you've already collected a burgeoning force of Orks, take a look at our tactics videos. We have a few of them. We're adding more constantly. So if you want more insight from this war boss to you, check out those. And as always, thanks, guys.
Sponsored by...
Tell us how to start collecting Orks, or where to start collecting Orks, and when, and how, and if, and yeah.
The answer to all of those is yes.